Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the talk show. Today should be a pretty quick one. Just going to go over the conference championship games and go over the coaching changes that have gone on so far in the NFL. So first off, let's get into the first game: Commanders versus Eagles. This game did not turn out how I thought it was going to turn out. I thought it would be closer than it was. The Eagles scored like 50-something points, made a record. And the Commanders kind of just fell apart throughout the game. They had 4 turnovers, 3 fumbles, and then a garbage time interception. But nonetheless, 4 turnovers, which, I mean, that couldn't happen if you wanted to beat the Eagles. And obviously, 4 turnovers isn't going to win you a game, especially a playoff game in the conference championship. Talking about their defense, I mean, they held Terry McLaurin and De'Ami Brown to only 6 receptions between them. They just weren't really making an impact. Obviously, De'Ami Brown had the fumble, and they just a testament to their defense and how strong their defense is. On the offensive side of the ball, Saquon had that first carry that went 60 yards and a touchdown, but after that, he was injured. He was dealing with a calf injury, I believe, and then he only had 15 carries for 118. 3 touchdowns is still impressive, obviously, but only 14 carries after that one. So I think, the 2-week break, he'll be fine, but something to look at. Jalen Hurts, once again, impressed in this playoff run, went 20 for 28, 246 and a touchdown. I mean, I haven't necessarily been the biggest Jalen Hurts fan throughout his whole career, but, I mean, he's really performed in this playoff run, and he's doing what he needs to do to help the team win, and that's really all you can ask for with a quarterback. And going along with that, my wide receiver of the week, A.J. Brown. What a bounce-back week for him. Struggling in the playoffs so far, then got 6 receptions, 96 yards, and a touchdown. I mean, just dominating Lattimore. I mean, he made Lattimore fucking crash out, fight on the sideline, and then Mike Sanders still, I mean, that was bullying. That was just straight up bully ball. To go from, I think, 3 receptions in the playoffs to having 6 in one game, that's huge, especially going into the Super Bowl. They're going to need to beat them running and passing. They can't just do one, not against the Chiefs, not against Spag. And I think he could be a huge safety valve for pressure on Jalen Hurts. So going into the Super Bowl, that's a great performance that he could have had. Ultimately, I thought the Eagles were going to win. I didn't think it was going to be as far of a gap as it was, but I can't say I'm fully surprised. And that's the perfect momentum that they need going into the Super Bowl. Next game, Bills versus Chiefs for the 4th time. Obviously, the Chiefs come out on top, 29-27, 29-20. 32-29, something like that. Very close game. First thing I'm going to address is the penalties. I saw a lot of people, once again, of course, complaining about penalties, complaining, about the catch that Xavier Worthy had. And honestly, this was the most fair game by far that they've probably had in all of the games where you can pick out penalties. And if that's the case, no matter what, when the Chiefs win, there's going to be penalties that are, I guess, not called, even though there's penalties that are missed throughout the whole game. I think that's apparent. I think a lot of people do know that. I think you should know that if you're going to watch football and make comments on games like that. But I mean, at the same time, like, Buffalo lucked out. 4 fumbles, didn't lose a single one. Chiefs had a fumble. And there are questionable fumbles sometimes. There's a lot of questionable calls going on. So if you think penalties determine this game, I think you're just a Chiefs hater and you just want to see them finally lose, which is fine. Just admit that. Don't go on social media running your mouth about how the refs are on the Chiefs' side and blah, 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 when maybe it's just the fact that Patrick Mahomes is better. But to go along with that, Josh Allen, 237 passing yards and 2 touchdowns, went with 11 carries for 39 yards, and Mahomes just played like Mahomes in the playoffs, 245 yards and a touchdown. And surprisingly, he also had 11 carries, 43 yards, and 2 touchdowns, which I've kind of always felt this. I mean, I think Mahomes has some of the best pocket presence in NFL history, but I think he's an underrated runner in the sense that he can get out and he can eat up yards. We saw it in the Super Bowl last year. We saw it in the Super Bowl against the Eagles. If you give him that seam, and this goes into his pocket presence, he'll just take it. He's not going to dance around in the pocket. He'll take it, and he's not, Brady. He's not Brady slow. He's not Lamar fast, but if he gets a full head of steam going, he's going to go. So that's something to look out for the Eagles, I think, especially with their talented defense and getting upfield too quickly. I think Mahomes could really capitalize on that and have a similar amount of carries in the Super Bowl. Going to some of the skill players, James Cook, 13 carries, 85 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He had a grown man touchdown on that fourth and goal or 2-point conversion, reaching the ball across. Kareem Hunt, 17 carries, 64 yards, and a touchdown. Back in that Chiefs offense, back as the number 1 running back. He's performed really since he's got there for them, and it's been a huge asset for them. Xavier Worthy, rookie receiver, 6 receptions, 85 yards, and a touchdown. He's found his stride in this offense, and I really think with an offseason, he could take a stride next year. He's found his rhythm this season, so he's another person I would expect to make a lot of plays in the Super Bowl. And I wouldn't count out some deep shots to him. I think if anything, that might be where they lack. I think his speed going against their secondary it could be a problem. So I'm excited to see how he does in the Super Bowl. And then on the Bills, Mac Hollins, 3 receptions, 73 yards, and a touchdown. And the 2 of them were huge receptions, obviously, to end the half with a touchdown, and then the other one to get them on the 1-yard line. Only 3 receptions, but he made those 3 receptions count. So good job on him. And kind of going back to the penalties and all these things. The Bills got the ball back with 3 minutes and 33 seconds left, with a chance to go down and kick a field goal and tie or score a touchdown to win the Super Bowl. And on that drive, or with that, they ran 6 plays. They ran 4 straight runs, or 4 straight passes, and then turned it over on downs. So with 3 minutes and 33 seconds left, and you're only getting 6 plays out of that, is that really the refs? Is it? No, it's not. And something else that I didn't really understand is James Cook had 3 carries on their last 3 drives, which I just don't really understand. He had, on 13 carries, 85 yards. And you're only going to run him 13 times, Josh Allen 11 times. I think that's where they were beating him, running the ball to James Cook. So I don't really understand why they shied away from that. I'm a little skeptical on Joe Brady's part, I'd say. I think, and I saw this, I'm not going to fully say I agree with it, but I think, they wanted Josh Allen to play hero ball and be the one leading him down the field and score. So I just wasn't a fan of that play calling, and ultimately it got to them. But Joe Brady's staying there, so we'll see next year. Hopefully they can finally beat the Chiefs, or let someone else beat the Chiefs so they can have their moment. But yeah, ultimately just not great play calling at the end of that game. And the last thing that we're going to be talking about is coach changes. So there's a couple. We'll just get straight into it. So first one, probably the biggest one, Chicago Bears hired Ben Johnson, previously the Lions offensive coordinator, and I think this was a good hire. You look at their roster: Caleb Williams, Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, DeAndre Swift. They have a stacked roster. He had the top 5 offense every year as the Lions offensive coordinator, and at the same time, in all 3 of those years, he had a 4,000-yard passer and a 1,000-yard rusher and receiver. So he gets his guys the balls. He gets them active. And for Caleb Williams, this is like a Christmas morning. You walk downstairs and your gifts are all there. This is huge for him. I think he's going to take a big leap. I think Rome Odunze could get 1,000 yards. DJ Moore might have the best season of his career. So I'm excited to see what that offense looks like with Ben Johnson in there. Next, the Cowboys hired offensive coordinator Brian Schottenheimer. His first year as the OC, CeeDee Lamb had the best year of his career, 1,700 receiving yards, but he didn't call plays as the OC, and I don't think he has a whole lot of experience. It's kind of out of the air. Out of nowhere hire. it's Jerry Jones. He said it's surprising, it's different. So if that's kind of the way he wants to go, I can't fault him for that. But I'm just not really sure about it, especially for something like the Cowboys. It's kind of good because he has no expectation really without that coaching experience. But maybe they've kind of been waiting for this, him being the OC, sitting behind McCarthy. Maybe he could be successful, but personally, I don't see it. I think he could be gone in about a year or two. But we'll just have to wait and see. The Jaguars got Liam Cohen. He had that corny ass press conference. Obviously, that was kind of funny. But I mean, looking at his stats, as the OC, Baker Mayfield had probably the best year of his career: 4,500 passing yards and 41 touchdowns, and he had a 1,000-yard rushing receiver as well, in Bucky Irving and Mike Evans. So, getting into that offense, he might be able to turn Trevor Lawrence around. I'd expect huge things from Brian Thomas in that offense. So, once again, kind of someone not a lot of people know about, but from the looks of it, he's able to operate an offense, and they're kind of in a dire situation where they'll take just about anyone. So that should be interesting. Obviously, they're still probably going to be second. They're going to be in that realm fighting for the second spot in the AFC South. I don't think they're going to just be better than the Texans or anything. But yeah, I think Jaguars fans have some chance to be optimistic and hopeful. Sorry. Next, we're going to go to the Raiders, who hired Pete Carroll. This is a smart hire for them. Two Super Bowl appearances, a national championship, a Super Bowl champion. He's had 10 playoff appearances in his career. Just an all-around, a football legend. He has a rivalry with Jim Harbaugh. I think this is probably what the Raiders need for a couple years to turn the franchise around and then bring someone else in while the franchise is successful. Because I think this is one of the worst franchises in the NFL. They haven't really built anything, with draft picks, wasted draft picks. Just ultimately, the Brock Bowers was probably the best draft pick they've had in 5 years. So for them to get someone like that, I think is huge for them. They have, pieces, but if I was a Raiders fan, I would be excited about Pete Carroll coming there and hopefully turning around that franchise in quick succession. Next up, possibly the best hire, Patriots hired Mike Vrabel. He's former coach of the year, made an AFC championship appearance, and he's been the 1 seed as a head coach. All great things. Played for the Patriots. I believe won a Super Bowl with the Patriots. He loves the Patriots. Patriots fans love him. And in 3 of his playoff appearances, all 3 of his losses were by a combined 21 points, and two out of the three teams went to the Super Bowl. So, he was losing to eventual Super Bowl teams, which obviously shows how talented his team was in a way and how great of a coach he was. I kind of thought the whole Titans thing was disrespectful. I personally thought the Patriots should have just hired him last year, but I kind of like the way they're going, keeping it in the the facility, even with Gerard Mayo, former player. So I think if I was a Patriots fan with Drake May having a good draft pick this year and the players around them, I would be excited for that draft, that pickup. Next, the Jets drafted Aaron Glenn, former first-round draft pick by the Jets. Played for them for multiple years. He was the Lions defensive coordinator, and I think this is good for them too. They're also one of those horrible franchises, and just from the way I've seen him coach, I think he can operate a room with the NFL experience he had. He's hard on his players. He's going to expect a lot out of them, and I think he could have a chance to do something too, with Aaron Rodgers probably retiring, and even that defense. I don't think the defense is horrible at all. And in his past 2 seasons, his defenses have averaged under 100 yards rushing a game. So I would expect that defense to turn around, and I think he'll get the right pieces for that offense to turn around. And lastly, and this one hurts the most, the New Orleans Saints, who are still yet to hire a coach. So far, Aaron Glenn turned them down, Cliff Kingsbury turned them down, Ben Johnson turned them down, Joe Brady turned them down. So yeah, it's not looking good for them. I don't know why they haven't hired someone yet. I'm still kind of waiting. I've heard Mike McCarthy, and they just recently interviewed Kellen Moore, so I've heard him too. Honestly, I'll take either of them. I'll be optimistic with whoever it is. Obviously, McCarthy has the Super Bowl experience as a head coach, won a Super Bowl, been to the playoffs multiple times. You know, Kellen Moore as an offensive coordinator this year has produced one of the best offenses in the league, and he's going to go to a Super Bowl. So, honestly, I think an offensive coach is probably what the Saints need. I think that's definitely the worst area on the team. I think the defense will still be fine. But I'm hoping that by the time of my next video comes out, they will have signed someone, but who knows. And yeah, it's all the coaches that have been picked up so far, and thank you for watching.